Happy Wednesday! I'm Tristan Winder in the News 2 streaming studio with the Morning Pulse. A marathon of a meeting was held last night for the North Platte City Council, from How to Best Help Sustainable Beef LLC and their multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art meat processing facility to development of District 177, a new property, and how to best drainage issues over at the mall property. The North Platte City Council had a marathon of a meeting last night. We'll have more details and reaction and comments from City Hall tonight at 6 and 10, and then of course later on today as well at knopnews2.com. For now, we begin with major news, not just for the state of Nebraska, but for the region as well, and potentially national news as well. As Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen and Attorney General Mike Hilgers announced this morning that the state of Nebraska is taking Colorado to the U.S. Supreme Court because Colorado is not following a 100-year-old plus agreement about sharing water from the South Platte River. The South Platte River Compact, made back in 1923, says how much water Nebraska should get in the summer irrigation season and throughout the winter season as well. Nebraska says Colorado is breaking that deal in two big ways. First of all, Colorado is allegedly taking too much water from the river in the summer, which means Nebraska farmers are not getting what they need. Colorado is also being accused by Nebraska of blocking the good life from building a canal in Perkins County, which would help Nebraskans get the water that it's promised. Because this is a disagreement between two states, the U.S. Supreme Court will have to step in to decide what happens next. Colorado is now required to answer Nebraska's claims, and the U.S. Supreme Court will later decide how to proceed. Obviously, this is a big news story. We'll have continuing coverage as the day progresses. We do have an interview scheduled for later on today as well, with not only Attorney General Hilgers, but also with current U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts, who was the governor of Nebraska at the time that this compact resurfaced, and the discussion of constructing the Perkins County Canal resurfaced just a few years ago. In other news here in the great state of Nebraska, there is a bit of a logjam taking place today in the Nebraska Sandhills. The section of the Dismal River between the Seneca Bridge and the Jameson Bridge in Thomas County was reported to the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission as impassable due to logjams. Downed trees have fallen into the river within steep canyons, creating large blockages and unsafe conditions for kayakers and canoers along this 12-mile river stretch. Game and Parks recommends those choosing to paddle the river enter at the put-in at Highway 97 south of Mullen and exit the river at the Seneca Bridge. This is about a 15-mile stretch of the river. Game and Parks does not own or manage any segment of the river for recreational use and cannot guarantee conditions along the other segments of the Dismal River Trail. Much of the land along the river is privately owned. Paddlers are reminded the riverbeds and all adjacent lands are the property of landowners through which the water flows. They also should follow safety guidance no matter which water trail they are paddling, wear a life jacket and sunscreen, stay hydrated, pack a first aid kit, and tether ropes, and if you capsize, avoid the downstream side of the canoe. An emergency, call 911, and know that many stretches of river trails in Nebraska, including the Dismal River, are in remote locations that may have limited or no cell phone service. Over the past 2 years, the Nebraska International Port of the Plains has made steady strides in developing its infrastructure and partnerships. Efforts have included designing and preparing new rail tracks, finalizing the transfer of the former Greenbrier rail property, exploring a management agreement, collaborating with potential air cargo expansion, and securing White River Soy's proposed oilseed processing plant as the port's first major tenant. And you can see here as well the sign out at the former Greenbrier Rail facility, now Hershey Rail Park, proudly bearing the Nebraska International Port of the Plains and Hershey Rail Park logos. Board chairman of the Nebraska International Port of the Plains, Jim Hawks, says throughout the early processes and developments out of the Hershey Rail Park, Union Pacific has demonstrated a great spirit of collaboration.
The railroad's been great to work with. They were in attendance at a couple of our first meetings there to kind of get us kicked off. But they've been very responsive, and it's my understanding that once we get the tracks open, one of the first things is they've got to come out and inspect the switches.
Severe weather leaving quite a bit of damage and power outages overnight across the capital city. In one of these photos, you can see a tree leaning up against a house near 31st and Vine in Lincoln. Other areas, including the Whiterby and Clinton neighborhoods, has medium to large-sized tree branches down. At the height of the power outages overnight, around 2,600 LES customers were without power in Lincoln. That number continued to decline as this morning progressed. Thankfully, it looked like that severe activity largely went around the community of North Platte, but did have some impact in surrounding communities as well. Staying in the capital city of Lincoln, ESPN Sports Center featuring the Cornhusker State Games for its 50 States in 50 Days segment. Nebraska Sports Council hosted a watch party live Tuesday morning. Volunteers, organizers, and sponsors all gathered to watch the first half of the games on the big screen. The council says not only does it showcase the hard work that goes into making the games possible, but it also shows the spirit of the good life.
So I think that just speaks for Nebraska in itself that everybody's welcome, and we're here to show you what our state can offer.
The Cornhusker State Games continue through the upcoming weekend. Rounding out the Morning Pulse here on this Wednesday, July 16th, with a check of the 7-day forecast. Temperatures, my goodness, they are beautiful today. Highs in the low 70s and mid 70s for today and tomorrow. Get on out and enjoy it as you can. Not strong chances of severe activity today or even storm activity, despite the cool temperatures coming into the region, surprisingly, with a unique system coming in, bringing us down into the mid to low 70s. Temperatures on Friday warming back up into more seasonable temperatures in the upper 80s, remaining in the upper 80s for Saturday, and then still not looking too bad next work week as we avoid triple digits for the most part, with highs in the mid to low 90s.